Okay, wonderful. All right. So I was just welcoming everybody on board. Welcome to Design Dialogues 12, Unlock Your Networks. I think a lot has happened through the last 2 months, and hopefully this space will help us all unwind, share, and collaborate further. So I'm Ishita Shah. I sort of conceptualized Design Dialogues 1.5 years back. Rahul, who is in process of joining us, is the co-curator. He joined me, I think, 3 months or 4 months later. And yes, we are in the second year of Design Dialogues. And it's been quite a ride trying to do this. We've been quite excited. And we're looking forward to seeing what these 2 days bring on board. The biggest change that we brought through Design Dialogues 2020 was that we wanted to make it a more engaging space and not just a conversation, building on the lines of a hackathon. And we said, could we have a hackathon for community-based initiatives? And this is why the format, the way it is, where our interactions are broken over 4 different sessions so that we can use in between time to engage, work, ideate, look up things. Even after we listen to each other, it helps to have some time to frame our questions, to frame our opinions, perspectives, and so on and so forth. So not going more into detail about this, we'll slowly know how it unfolds. I'm requesting everyone once again that when you are not speaking, keep your mics on mute because the background noise will affect the speaker's attention, but also the recording. So when you take over the dais, please unmute yourself, but in the meanwhile, keep the mics off. One little heads up, your WhatsApp could also be inconvenience when you are talking. So if you're logged in into your web WhatsApp, take it off, close it down because those sounds will also come into disturbance, cause a disturbance. I have already emailed that we are recording these sessions. I'm putting it out here on record again that we'll be recording these sessions. If anybody has any concerns, please do write to us. The idea is for Design Dialogues to create open source material. We have a WordPress account where we share our recordings basically. We share the recordings. We also want to share the audio clips, which we created earlier, and we share the images to give the audience a look and feel of what happened and short curatorial notes about what was discussed. So do keep following us over there, and we have an Instagram account as well. Yes, as far as questions are concerned, this format doesn't have a webinar format. So like some of you might know, Zoom has it. Those kind of question answer dialog boxes do not create disturbance, but here we only have a chat box. So it will create disturbance. So we will not send in questions when the speakers are talking. Once the speakers finish, after which is 75 minutes, we'll give you about 5 minutes to put down your questions and we'll take them on roll. As planned, if you're not able to do things by 12:30, we take a break and we reconvene at 6 and we restart. So we'll continue the questions there and then continue over to the debate as planned. Okay, so those are the logistics and some inputs from my end, and I'm going to start 11:02, so that's not bad. So Johnson, we want to start with you to present, and I'm really going to save us all from repeating the curatorial note, the introductions and all of that, because I think you all have read it and that is why you are here. So Johnson, over to you. You'll have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, so it is always difficult to start the session because then so I take that risk. So I come from an institution called Sahyadri College of Engineering and Management. I am a chief innovator and growth strategist at Sahyadri College. So my role in the college is to So my role in the college is to ensure that we have a holistic learning available for the students. So I will just give a brief about the whole perspective with which 5 points that possibly could be the area of discussion for this platform. So boasting 600 million youths, question: are we educating them in the right direction of growth and prosperity? So it is projected that by a digital economy that worth 800 billion to $1 trillion, which is equivalent to 18 to 23% of the country's nominal GDP. Now, the challenge is whether Gen are ready for it. So clearly, the message that we set out is youths can inspire youths, and this whole idea of competitive collaboration. So how do we build this as an education? We build this as the epicenter of our organization, but an ecosystem around that could be built. So pointers that I would want to discuss at it as the main agenda in my college, that is Sahyadri College of Engineering and Management. Okay, so if I were to first is post, and if you just check the statistics, we are having close to 8 lakh engineers sitting at home. Now these are the ones who are going to work in the companies and so on and so forth. So how much are these youths who are sitting at home, 10 lakh youths I'm talking about, currently are educated about the new normal? So one of the initiatives that we started taking is to platform for the experts out there who are also working, currently sitting at home, having no clue or having no sort of a network to understand the whole scenario of post-COVID era. So we started a series of webinars where we brought in the best of the best industry experts who know in and out of what is going to happen in the IT sector or the non-IT sector, and then we kind of created interactive sessions with the experts. So this is something that we started doing just to engineering youth sitting in their homes. The second concept that I wanted to highlight is called phenomenon-based learning. The entire education system today, getting degrees and then eventually setting out for a job. Possibly that was something that we witnessed 15 to 20 years back when there was this entire boom of internet, etc. Countries like US expected people to have at least bachelors of engineering, and in India and China were the countries who were producing it in large numbers. But today we see a shift in that culture where people are looking more from skills rather than mere degree. Now that's again a topic of debate. There is the entire focus has been outcome-based education. We are looking for certain skills and skills, and then the entire education system has ensured that those skills are being contributed to the students, and actually they are evaluated on that. There is a new concept that is coming. It is called phenomenon-based learning. The sector that is booming today is industrial IoT, or IoT for that matter. It is predicted that each individual eventually would have 12 IPs that are, and already if you consider only in India, there are about 800 million mobile subscribers today. So which means if you consider it multiplied by 800 million multiplied by 12, you'll be having so much of IPs and so much of data being created. Now, what as a digital economy, what could possibly be done using those data, and in terms of security issues? If I take only the security, venture into that what all things am I supposed to learn? So taking that itself as a phenomena, what extra things am I supposed to, going through a series of subjects which does not interest me for 4 years, and then eventually venturing out a job possibly not in my area. If you consider non-IT sectors like civil or mechanical engineers today, they venture eventually into IT sectors, something that is not passionate about me, something that I'm not passionate about, and eventually in 2 years we see a lot of attrition happening. So in phenomenon-based learning, I pick up a phenomena and then I learn all the entities that is concerning to that particular phenomena, and then I dive deeper into it, making me a master of that particular sector. The third important thing that we are focusing on is skills and competencies for a particular job. earlier we were more focused on knowledge because a lot of data was not information was not available. But today one possibly could have all sort of information available in the internet. But what's lacking is the conversion of information into knowledge, and that knowledge converted into skills. And particularly today, what we are talking about as soft skills have turned out to be essential skills. One of the reasons being, labor market and globalization of economy. We find people across the globe working in a similar in a particular company, and the kind of services that India is offering is not now restricted to a local region or perhaps for India, but we are also serving the global. We are serving the globe. So in this scenario, there are that is expected from the students. So what are the kind of preparations that colleges are doing in order to make sure that the engineers, the graduates, are competent? So we are also working closely with the Karnataka government to ensure. So we are floating a pilot in which we are ensuring that this kind of a competency is being developed, and it could be created as a model that could be scaled around all the universities in Karnataka. So just to give an example once again, so if I consider technology, technology is a commodity today. So there are enough technologies available. So if you just have to build something around it, you need to be frugal. Now these are not the things that we are teaching in educational institutions today. For students to be frugal yet have professional ethics embedded in it. So these kind of skills are most important today and post COVID. Fourth point that I want to focus is on rote learning has been always there since from school, and that culture has been progressing. So what is needed today is how do we make these, giving a couple of examples like LinkedIn or HackerRank for online hackathons, or digital universities that are coming big time. So how efficient are we educating our youths to take up these platforms for networking? Again, underrated topic, but then a lot of emphasis is being laid by the government in terms of through its programs like Startup India and Make in India. So there is a huge opportunity that is coming. But if our students are more focused to
Johnson, we are worried that your network is cracking up. So we are missing some lines and words in between. If you could phrase the last two lines for us. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm so is by the end of my fourth year, I need to have a job offer in my hand. But not many are focusing on entrepreneurship as a career. Now, when I say entrepreneurship, it is not only about starting a company and then becoming a unicorn eventually. It's also about the mindset that goes into becoming an entrepreneur. So if you see today, the ones who have ventured out into entrepreneurship, they are also looking for opportunities during the COVID times. They are trying different things, frugal enough, and coming out with new sort of a solution to fight the effects of pandemic. But on the other end, people who are not entrepreneurial, or at least with that mindset, they are finding it difficult. We do not have that kind of a frugality. They do not know what to do at these times, relying up.
Johnson, do you want to try switching off your video and continuing? We are losing quite a bit of what you are saying, unfortunately.
Not sorry, in the schools, the college, not much emphasis is being laid on nurturing the leadership qualities, where youths can come up and say, hey, can we all group together and fight this particular problem? So that's something that we are really focusing in the college. So we started our own program called as social innovation program. We created our own center for social innovation. So today all my first year students, they go out to the society. They spend a week with the people from the community. They kind of discuss their livelihood problems, and they come back and then they collaboratively start working on different ideas that could possibly bring a change in the particular community. So they right first year itself they start taking up leadership roles. So I'm not saying that by the end of the year they come up with a brilliant break in the
Johnson,
responsibilities
sorry, I'm going to
once
interrupt.
we go
Um,
for.
Johnson, if you could put off your video and continue, we are losing quite a bit of you in between otherwise. If we could try it that way.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, yes, this
Am I
should be
now?
fine. Let's hope. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah.
Okay. So the last point that no problem. So the last point that I wanted to mention is empowering the next generation. So the one program that we do in our college is called Be with Engineering, where all the school students, the best of the talents from the schools across 6 districts, they get mentored by our first and second year engineering students. So one of the reasons why we do it is to make sure our students don't lose the entire understanding of growing along with the community, because these students are given a sense of what happens eventually when they venture into their they can think big, and they can also have that sort of dream that they would eventually become the Batman or Superman of their community, and then they start passionately working towards achieving that dream. So these audience with on how education itself can be taken as a tool post this pandemic to create new opportunities for the community. Yes, Ishita.
Okay. Thank you, Johnson. That was very,
That's
very interesting as well as worrying at the same time. But bringing open this, conversation about youth and the anxieties post COVID. Not that we have not had them before, but what happens after COVID, and these very important aspects about not taking entrepreneurship for granted, or this need for leadership. Which needs to be a part of the educational ecosystem. These are very important aspects which I've highlighted, and hopefully we all together should be able to sort of decode these further, as well as participants might want to sort of ask you more on this and work further on this. So thanks, Johnson. We're now going to move on to the next speaker.